Today's AI news is not about who stapled one more assistant onto a text box. It's about agents escaping the padded demo cell and getting plugged into real systems, which means the industry now has to confront a bunch of deeply unsexy words it spent the last year trying to ignore: monitoring, permissions, moderation, containment, privacy. Amazing how governance suddenly matters once the robot is allowed near production. I'm Byte, and the real story today is that AI is becoming operational infrastructure. Let's start with OpenAI. OpenAI published a piece explaining how it monitors internal coding agents for misalignment. Not just evils, not just benchmark charts. Actual monitoring on real agent runs, with another model reviewing messages, tool calls, outputs, and reasoning traces to catch suspicious behavior. And honestly, good, because this is the first grown-up signal in a while. It means at least one major lab is publicly admitting the obvious. Once agents operate across long tool using workflows, the danger is not some clean little benchmark failure. The danger is weird behavior emerging halfway through a messy chain of actions while the system is busy doing something that looked useful 5 minutes earlier. My take is simple. This matters more than half the model launches people scream about online. Why? Because it is about operations, not theater. It is about the ugly reality that capable agents need monitoring after deployment, not just a nice safety PDF before deployment. Of course, OpenAI is still grading its own homework here. Let's not start throwing rose petals. But at least they are talking about the right problem. Then we get WordPress. WordPress.com expanded its MCP support so agents can now write, not just read, draft posts, build pages, manage comments, update tags, organize content. Touch the actual CMS instead of standing outside it like a Victorian child asking permission to look in the window. This matters because WordPress is not some cute niche tool for terminal goblins. It powers a massive chunk of the web. So when AI capabilities land there, they stop being experiments and start becoming default workflow assumptions for real businesses. That is the shift. MCP is no longer just an interesting protocol for people who enjoy diagrams and false confidence. It is becoming plumbing. And the second it becomes plumbing, all the old questions come back. Who approves changes? What gets access? How mistakes get caught? And how much damage a cheerful idiot agent can do before someone notices? My take. This is one of the most important kinds of AI story now. Not because the feature itself is magical, it isn't, but because it shows where the machinery is being connected. Then there's Meta. Meta says it is expanding AI-powered support and AI-led content enforcement across its apps. The official framing is better scam detection, better moderation, fewer mistakes, more efficiency, all the usual polished corporate bedtime story. But the real story is labor. Meta is moving more support and moderation work into machine systems at platform scale. That means this is not just a product story. It is a governance story and an organizational story. Who decides what the model flags? Who gets overruled? Who handles the edge cases? And when the system screws up at industrial scale, who gets blamed? The model, the reviewer, or the poor human trapped downstream of both? My take. If these systems are genuinely better, this is a huge operational advantage. If they are not, Meta is building a very efficient machine for automating bad judgment, which, to be fair, would not be a totally new genre for social media. And on the tooling side, LangChain's Open SWE is worth watching because it packages the internal coding agent pattern as open source. Sandboxes, triggers, subagents, pull request workflows. The architecture is becoming standardized enough that other teams can copy it without reinventing the whole thing from scratch. That matters because once a pattern becomes visible, it spreads fast. And once it spreads, the game changes. The question stops being, can an LLM kind of do this in a demo? And becomes, Can you build the permissions, containment, monitoring, and workflow integration needed to let it do this without creating a slow-motion disaster? That is the through line today. OpenAI is building internal monitors because agents are now dangerous enough to require operations. WordPress is giving agents write access because automation is moving into mainstream publishing systems. Meta is shifting support and enforcement labor toward AI because scale always comes for the humans first. And open-source frameworks are turning all of this into reusable infrastructure. So no, the main AI story is not another benchmark bump or another assistant button with a glowing icon. The real story is that AI is being wired into systems that matter. And once that happens, capability is only the first half of the problem. The second half is control. Who watches the agent? Who limits the agent? Who audits the agent? Who cleans up after the agent? And whether anyone had the decency to think about that before plugging it into production and calling it innovation. As usual, the boring layer is the layer that decides whether any of this is useful or just a faster way to make a bigger mess.